Ever felt like you're pushing too hard in life? Do you find yourself constantly struggling, striving, and stressing to make things happen? What if there was a different way? A way that feels more natural, more effortless, and potentially even more effective? Today we're going to explore a powerful concept that could change how you approach life and its challenges. We'll dive into the art of not forcing, an ancient wisdom that's incredibly relevant in our fast-paced, high-pressure world. This idea comes from the Chinese philosophy of Wu Wei, which roughly translates to non-action or effortless action. But don't let that fool you. It's not about being lazy or passive. Instead, it's about finding a way to work with the natural flow of life rather than against it. Think about times when you've tried to force something to happen. Maybe it was a relationship, a career move, or a personal goal. How did that feel? Often, when we push too hard, we create resistance. We get frustrated, exhausted, and sometimes even move further away from our goals. Wu Wei offers a different approach. Wu Wei is a core principle in Taoism, an ancient Chinese philosophy that emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao, or the natural order of the universe. The concept suggests that the most effective way to accomplish something is to allow it to happen naturally, rather than forcing it. But what does this really mean in practice? How can we apply this ancient wisdom to our modern lives? That's what we're going to explore in depth today. We'll look at why forcing often doesn't work, how to recognize when we're pushing too hard, and most importantly, how to cultivate a more effortless approach to life. Now you might be wondering, isn't effort important? Don't we need to work hard to achieve our goals? Absolutely. Wu Wei isn't about giving up or not trying. It's about finding the right kind of effort that aligns with your natural abilities and the natural flow of circumstances around you. Let's start by examining why forcing things often backfires. When we try to control every aspect of our lives, we create a lot of unnecessary stress. We're constantly on edge, worried about making everything perfect. This tension can actually hinder our performance and creativity. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. Forcing also often leads to burnout. When we're always pushing, always in high gear, we drain our energy reserves. We might make progress in the short term, but it's not sustainable. Eventually, we crash, and all that forced progress comes to a halt. Another problem with forcing is that it can blind us to other opportunities. When we're so focused on making things work out exactly as we've planned, we might miss unexpected chances or alternative paths that could be even better than what we originally envisioned. So how do you know if you're forcing too much in your life? There are several signs to look out for. Do you often feel stressed and overwhelmed? Are you constantly worried about the future, unable to enjoy the present moment? Do you find yourself trying to control every detail of your life and the lives of those around you? These can all be indicators that you're pushing too hard. Another sign is a feeling of constant struggle. If everything in your life feels like an uphill battle, it might be time to reassess your approach. While challenges are a normal part of life, not everything should feel like a fight. Physical symptoms can also be a clue. Tension, headaches, muscle pain, insomnia, these can all be signs that you're forcing too much. Your body often knows when you're out of alignment before your mind does. Lastly, pay attention to your relationships. If you're often in conflict with others, trying to make them behave or think the way you want them to, that's another sign of forcing. Healthy relationships have a natural give and take, a flow that doesn't require constant control. Now that we've identified the problem, let's look at the benefits of adopting a non-forcing approach. When we learn to work with the natural flow of things rather than against it, life becomes much smoother. We experience less stress and more peace. We're able to respond to situations with greater flexibility and creativity. Not forcing doesn't mean we achieve less. In fact, often the opposite is true. When we're relaxed and in flow, we're more productive. We make better decisions because we're not clouded by stress and anxiety. We're more in tune with our intuition, which can guide us to opportunities we might otherwise miss. Our relationships improve when we stop trying to force outcomes. We become better listeners, more empathetic, and more accepting of others. This leads to deeper, more fulfilling connections. We also become more resilient. When we're not attached to forcing specific outcomes, we can bounce back more easily from setbacks. We see challenges as part of the journey rather than as obstacles to be forced through. Perhaps most importantly, we enjoy life more. When we're not constantly pushing and striving, we can appreciate the present moment. We find more joy in the process, not just the end result. So how can we apply Wu Wei in our daily lives? It starts with awareness. Begin to notice when you're forcing things. Are you tensing up, feeling frustrated? These can be cues to take a step back and reassess. Practice going with the flow in small ways. If you're stuck in traffic, instead of getting angry, use the time to listen to a podcast or enjoy some music. If a project isn't going as planned, take a break and come back to it with fresh eyes. Learn to distinguish between productive effort and needless force. Productive effort feels energizing, even when it's challenging. Needless force feels draining and frustrating. Start to tune into these feelings in your body and use them as guidance. Cultivate patience. Many times forcing happens because we're impatient for results. Remember that good things often take time. Trust in the process and in your own steady progress. Practice acceptance. Much of our forcing comes from resisting what is. Can you accept your current situation, even if it's not ideal? This doesn't mean giving up on change, but it does mean not fighting against your present reality. Develop flexibility in your goals. Have a direction you want to move in, but be open to adjusting your path. Sometimes what we think we want isn't actually what's best for us. By staying open and flexible, we allow better opportunities to come our way. Learn to trust your intuition. Often our intuition knows what's right for us, but we override it with our logical mind. Start paying more attention to your gut feelings. They're often guiding you towards the path of least resistance. Practice mindfulness. Being present in the moment helps us tune into the natural flow of things. It allows us to respond to life as it is, rather than as we think it should be. Wu Wei isn't about inaction. It's about the right action at the right time. Sometimes that might mean taking bold steps. Other times, it might mean waiting and observing. The key is to tune into what each situation calls for, rather than forcing your preconceived ideas onto it. As you begin to practice Wu Wei, you might face some challenges. Old habits of forcing and controlling can be hard to break. You might feel uncomfortable or anxious when you first start to loosen your grip on things. This is normal. Be patient with yourself as you learn this new way of being. You might also face resistance from others who are used to your old way of doing things. They might not understand why you're not pushing as hard as you used to. Remember that you don't need to explain or justify your approach to everyone. Let the results speak for themselves. There might be times when you slip back into old patterns of forcing. Don't beat yourself up about this. Notice it, learn from it, and gently guide yourself back to a state of flow. As you continue to practice Wu Wei, you'll likely notice a ripple effect in your life. As you become more relaxed and open, you may find that the people around you do too. Your calmness can be contagious, creating a more harmonious environment wherever you go. You might inspire others to adopt a similar approach. Without preaching or pushing, your example can show others a different way of navigating life's challenges. This can lead to improved relationships and a more positive atmosphere in your home, workplace, and community. You may also notice that opportunities seem to come to you more easily. When you're not forcing and pushing, you create space for good things to flow into your life. You become more attuned to subtle cues and chances that you might have missed before. Your creativity may flourish. Many great ideas and innovations come not from forced effort, but from a relaxed, open state of mind. By practicing Wu Wei, you're creating ideal conditions for inspiration to strike. Your decision-making may improve. When you're not forcing things, you can see situations more clearly. You're able to consider multiple perspectives and choose the path that feels most aligned, rather than just pushing ahead with your first idea. You might find that your health improves. Chronic stress from constant forcing takes a toll on our bodies. As you learn to flow more and force less, you may notice improvements in your physical well-being. Your sense of time might change. When we're constantly forcing and pushing, time can feel like an enemy. There's never enough of it. But as you practice Wu Wei, you might find a greater sense of spaciousness in your days. You accomplish what needs to be done without the frantic rush. You may develop a greater sense of trust in life. As you see how things often work out when you don't force them, you'll build confidence in this approach. This can lead to a deeper sense of peace and contentment, regardless of external circumstances. Remember, practicing Wu Wei is not about achieving a perfect state of effortless action all the time. It's an ongoing practice, a way of moving through life with greater ease and flow. There will still be challenges and times when effort is needed. The key is learning to distinguish between productive effort and unnecessary force. As we wrap up, let's recap the main points we've covered. We've explored the concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action. We've looked at the problems that come from constantly forcing things in our lives and the benefits of adopting a more flowing approach. We've discussed practical ways to incorporate Wu Wei into daily life, from cultivating awareness to practicing acceptance and flexibility. We've acknowledged the challenges that might come up as you begin this practice and explored the positive ripple effects it can have in your life and the lives of those around you. The art of not forcing is a powerful tool for navigating our complex, fast-paced world. It offers a way to achieve our goals and live our values without burning out or creating unnecessary struggle. It invites us to trust in our own capabilities and in the unfolding of life itself. As you go forward from here, I encourage you to experiment with this approach. Notice where you might be forcing things in your life. Practice loosening your grip just a little. See what happens when you allow things to unfold naturally, when you work with the flow of life rather than against it. Remember, this is a practice. It takes time to shift long-standing habits of forcing and controlling. Be patient and gentle with yourself as you explore this new way of being. Celebrate the small victories, the moments when you catch yourself before forcing, when you choose to flow rather than push. I invite you to share your experiences with this practice in the comments below. How does the idea of Wu Wei resonate with you? What areas of your life do you think could benefit from less forcing? What small step could you take today to begin exploring this approach? Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Wu Wei, the art of not forcing. I hope you found value in these ideas and that they spark some positive changes in your life. Remember, true power often comes not from force but from flowing with the natural current of life. Here's to your journey of discovering the magic that can happen when you don't force in life.